best thing would just be to
Try and hold it back.
you won't hold it back. As if we need to. I'll chuck a block under it.
Yeah, just stop there, I'll let him.
Oh, that's good. Let's get the rear block. Ready?
Yeah.
Well, I've got the D2 back in, the one that I broke down in the other day. If you remember, the top rad hose blew. The AA taped it all up for me to get me home, which it did. So we've now got a replacement over there on the floor. New coolant, a 36mm viscous fan spanner, because I had Discovery 1, 32mm one. So we need to whip, hang on a minute. So we need to whip the viscous fan off, because this pipe is there, and right down there. So with the viscous fan off, I can get my hand down there. So that's the first job. Right, so I used a pry bar just to stop the clutch from moving, and then obviously the viscous fan spanner to get it off. You can buy special tools that one goes over the bolt heads of the clutch and then you've got a second spanner to undo the fan, but pry bar does just as well. Right, just going to be careful here because I don't want to come off and hit the rad. There we go, fan off. Right. So with the fan removed, you can see the hose goes all the way down there and clamps on down there. So it's just a simple case of unclamping it all, letting the coolant drain out. Well, it's plain water at the moment because obviously the AA, put plain water in just to get me home. So yeah, we'll let that drain out, get this off, and then we'll put the new hose on. Right, so I've put the new hose on. I'm just going to pour some normal water in for now, just to make sure there's no leaks. Run it up, make sure it's all good. And if no leaks, I'll drop the bottom hose again and then top out with proper coolant. So there's a bleed valve on the top of this hose. So I've just cracked that off to let the air out while I pour the water in. Right, well, we're all done. Well, nearly done. Just got to put the fan shroud back on, but the pipe's on, the fan's back on. We've bled it. We've put in a 33% mix of coolant versus water because it's still technically summer. Obviously, we can just add the rest of the bottle. The easiest way to do it is park it on a slope like I have here, undo the bleed nipple, and then pour it in there in the header tank, and then it pour out here. And then I know we'll lose a bit, but either that or you can suck some out the header tank and put some in or whatever. But yeah, 33% is obviously better than none, and when you take some out and put some back in, it'll up the concentration. So we're going to let it idle now, just to get up to temperature, make sure all good, and then this one is ready for its MOT. Well, it didn't do too bad. As you can see, it did fail. Brake pads are low. Anti-roll bar link on the rear is got loads of play in it. Emissions not tested because the exhaust has come apart between the centre section and the rear box. So it needs both parts because the flanges on each end are knackered. So obviously the emissions weren't tested because it was miles down the car, in the middle of the car, so we couldn't get down to it. So emissions not tested, so that'll be fine once the exhaust is done. Again, exhaust system insecure because the back box and rear part of the system is flapping about. Windscreen wiper defective. It needs replacing basically. Steering box leaking oil, standard. The lower front ball joints have got a bit of deterioration in the boots. I'm not going to worry about them yet. Again, same with one of the ARB links at the front. It says oil leak not excessive twice. I'm guessing that's probably engine and gearbox. It's not really specific, but again, normal. Shock absorber has a slightly worn bush. Brake discs worn, pitted or scored. And it is just starting to go on the rear chassis, but it has been advised for the last couple of years. It hasn't really got any worse, so we will get around to that at some point. So the first job basically is just to get the exhaust done, the pads done, and the ARB and stuff to get it through the test, and then we can work on these bits over the next few months. So I'll get these done and get it back to the customer. Well, we have an old friend back. I don't know if this was pre-YouTube or post-beginning of YouTube, but I had this many moons ago. Sold it to a local chap who used it and abused it every day. Done his commuting in it. Done everything in it, really. Then lockdown come along, and it sat there. So it hasn't actually now been on the road for a year, over a year. Not that it shows, I mean, state of it. We've done quite a bit of work in this in the past. We've MOT'd it every year, well, until he stopped using it. And yeah, it's just been parked up since. So he's asked me to pick it up and recommission it. So the first thing we're going to do is obviously check oil and water and stuff. The battery's completely dead, so we'll sort that out, get it running, and then we'll chuck it in for an MOT and see what it fails on and decide what we're going to do with it. But he wants to try and recommission it to sell it. but if the MOT man is quite harsh on it, he will want to scrap it. So I'm in two minds. I'm trying to clear out, obviously, but then I don't want to see this scrapped. So let's get it MOT'd and we'll see what we're left with. Right, we've checked the oil, checked the water. We've got the BRM on jump duties, so let's see. Let's make sure it's in neutral. Yeah. Mobiliser's on. Nothing, so let's just... Right. Oh! So after over a year in slumber, she fires. She's got half a tank of fuel. Excellent. All right, we'll leave this to warm up and see what goes. MOT's booked for the morning, so we shall see. Well, it had its MOT. Didn't fare too well. So it actually failed on the emissions. I noticed it's got an aftermarket cat on it. I'm sure I put that on there years ago. So that probably needs replacing, or because it hasn't been driven for a while, it needs a good freshen. Suspension ball joint dust cover no longer prevents the ingress of dirt. Near side front and offside front. That's both lower wishbone ball joints. Brake pipes excessively corroded, near side rear. Not a massive pipe, it's only a short bit. Track rod end ball joint dust cover insecure. So obviously needs a track rod end. It needs an ARB link. It really needs 4 tyres because it's failed on one of them because it has a cut in it. But it's also advised, we'll come to it in a minute. Battery insecure, so it needs a retainer on there. Nail in near side front tyre. Brake pipes corroded, offside front. Brake disc worn, pitted or scored. Fronts, another tyre close to legal limit, worn on edge, offside front. Front brake hoses slightly deteriorated. The rear arms, now not the adjustable track arms, the ones that are in front of the rear hubs, all the bushes on them are knackered, so both sides of those need replacing really. And another tyre is cracking or perished and has a nail in it. So really that's 4 tyres it needs. The near side front with just a nail, we'll have to check on the tread pattern, but you know, really it needs 4 tyres. So yes, so now I've got to price up the repair, find out if the customer wants to do it. Obviously we can just do the fails, but if he wants to do it to sell, really we need to do the whole lot. But I'm going to go through prices now and advise him, and then I will let you know what he says. So there you go then. As you saw, the Defender had its yearly MOT test. Couple of advisories. Headlamp lens slightly defective. It's got loads of water in it, so that needs draining out. And the A-bar ball joint dust cover is deteriorated. Again, nothing to worry about at this point. I'll replace it when I have to do the whole bush. Or the whole pin, ball joint thing, whatever. So yeah, so that's the result. So we can start using it over the winter.